to the Mass Music Morning Show. This is Shlomo Bowe. Guys, as you know, the Xbox Series X has just been released.
Yes,
we have
sir.
the PlayStation 5 as well.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm someone who, I still got a 360, man. I never jumped on my Xbox One.
You're a caveman.
I know. And I honestly, I don't even play it that much. I think it's in the box right now from when I moved. Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame you. It's the Xbox 360. See, my thinking with the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 is I was one of the lucky ones, shout out to my mother, who got the Xbox 360 within like the first month or two that it had come out.
Oh, so you got it brand new out the box, Shamus.
Out the box. But with that being said, anyone who knows anything knows that the earliest models of the Xbox 360 had the red ring of death. So because of that, I've been pretty scarred from buying consoles when they first come out. You gotta wait, get all the kinks worked out and everything like that. Maybe slim down the console a little bit, and then I'm going in to buy.
Oh, hell yeah. Now, James, you've had many consoles over the years. What would you say your favorite console?
Well, I'm actually with you, Shlomo. I am also a quote-unquote caveman, just like Shamus called you.
So you feel me.
I actually still play my Xbox 360.
It's a good console.
I'll occasionally even throw on the PS2, and actually a few months ago, I purchased a Nintendo 64.
Wow.
Really?
So I'm kind of and I still have a GameCube as well, too.
But those are all god tier consoles, I will say. Those are like, no matter how much technology advances, those consoles will always be played.
You know which one I did not like?
What?
The original Xbox. It was like the
never
size.
had that.
It was the size of like two shoe boxes side by side, and it weighed about 400 pounds.
Yeah, I never had that. But what I did have was the Nintendo 64, the GameCube, and the PlayStation 2.
What was your gaming path? We'll get this out of the way. So the first ones were Nintendo 64, PS1, and Sega Dreamcast. What do you guys say you had?
My first, should I just start at step one, or should I just go the whole path?
Yeah, tell me your path.
I'll tell the path.
Take us down memory lane.
First game console I ever played, Nintendo 60. I'll leave handhelds out because we could go a whole hour about handhelds. I'll just go over big consoles.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64, followed by the PlayStation 2, followed by the Xbox 360, followed by the PlayStation 3, and then now it leads us with the Xbox One. That is where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's dope.
So, it went through the classics. I never had a Nintendo 64. I played. That was the first console I'd ever played.
Yeah.
Never got to have it myself. GameCube. I never had a GameCube or anything, but
my cousins in Jersey.
I was gonna say it was always the cousins that had those. So that's how mine went. What about you, Versace? What was your game path?
Very similar. Nintendo 64, and then I think so. I also had a PS1 too, because they're very different systems, but. And then I went to the PS2, which I think is probably up there with the 360 as the greatest console ever.
100%. Yeah.
I love the PS2. Kind of cheated on it a little bit with the GameCube, because again, GameCube has those Super Mario games and
the Mario Kart. Yeah, all those.
Different feel. And then I landed on the Xbox 360, and I just like in my real personal life, I refuse to grow up. So, and partly it's because how expensive the systems are, but also. Man, they're just so different. I remember back in the day when you could just you could buy a video game and actually have the hard copy. Now you can't play video games if you don't have Wi-Fi. If your Wi-Fi is down, you literally can't play some video games.
It's weird now with certain consoles like that. You
That's
can
whack,
buy
bro.
it, but like you say, it's not as common. A lot of people they choose to buy it online and just download it rather than having the physical copy. But like James said, no Wi-Fi, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, bringing it back, man. My favorite console was probably the PlayStation 2.
What was your path though? Like, what did you start with?
My path, I mean, I got two older brothers, so we started off with the 64.
Okay.
And from there, we got an original Xbox, which I loved. And then we got the PS2, and I just have vivid memories of like waking up mad early in the morning. Like my time to shine was early before anyone else woke up.
Yeah.
Like my older brothers, as soon as they're up, like I'm off.
Yeah,
like,
you're kicked off.
Get the hell out of here,
being
right?
a youngin', yeah.
So I get up mad early, throw on the PS2, and like I remember the loading screen with like the little like lights that would move around.
Kind of scary.
It's very ominous, but I remember just being mystified as a little kid, like, yo, I'm about to play San Andreas. Like no one's awake right now. Like, yo, this is nuts.
Those are the days, dude. I remember those days vividly.
Yeah, if you ride his bike, I'm like, this is kind of like me riding my bike. You know?
for
So,
real.
like, I don't know. Anyway, so I went to the PS2. From there, I got my very own. This is my first console. I got an Xbox 360.
Yep. I remember your gamer tag was Boner617.
Classic. Classic.
I do remember that.
Hell yeah. But here's the thing. I had 2 or 3 360s because if you remember, There was the one that had the button, like to open the tray. It was the button one, and you could take the memory, like the hard drive, out of it. So I had that one, and then they switched to like the touchscreen, tray and all that stuff. So, but that's where I landed. But I was just talking. I mean, hey, I might get this Xbox. What is it called?
The Series X.
The Series X.
I mean, hey, you're long overdue for a new console.
I know. My biggest thing though is like, I agree with you guys where I like to own my game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, downloading the game to the console, I think it's kind of whack. Like, I also still buy CDs, so I get that side of things.
Yeah, there's a bit of nostalgia attached to the transaction.
Although it's also nice not having to go into GameStop and deal with all the BS.
But still, you want to see the dude that works at GameStop. Would you like to pre-order this game for $5?
Yeah,
it's like,
and then you can shop around like all these games. Yeah. Wait. So with the new consoles, can you still play CDs on them? Like,
it depends on the console. Like, I know they have certain. I think there's a certain version of the Xbox Series X. So there's a Series X and there's a Series S. I think one of them is only like there's no disc tray. Like, I think you have to download.
I want the one with the disc tray so I can play my old games.
It really depends. But speaking of having the disc, if we can rewind time a little bit and think back to those days when you were just a youngin' gaming it down.
Yeah.
What would you say is your number one favorite throwback video game? And throwback, I'll include the Xbox 360 and the PS3. I guess we can go there. But mainly where I'm going to be looking at is the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 2, and that general. Those, the GameCube, I guess.
Can we bring in the original Xbox into
that? I don't have much experience with it, but I mean, I know you do, so yeah, you can.
I got one right off the rip.
Okay. What
is it? It's kind of a low-key game. It's called NHL Hits.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's a game where it's a 3-on-3, right? And it's just absurd. I used to play with my neighbor Martin. You guys know Martin.
Of course.
And I probably spent a total of like a year of my life playing that game.
Really?
Yeah, and it was great because like once you got a few hits, you scored a goal, you could fire up. I don't remember that exact term, but you would literally go on fire, and your players were just absolutely unstoppable. The fighting in the game was just electric. You could smash people over the boards. You could check the goalies, and it was the sound effects in the game. Whoosh, like, if you hit someone, it sounded just absolutely gruesome, and it was just such a fun game.
That reminds me actually of one of my top games. I don't know if I'd say it's my number one choice, but it's definitely a top 3 in terms of time spent on a game. And it was actually the Bigs for Xbox 360. Do you remember that game?
Hell yeah.
Very similar concept, except baseball, and it was like, you could power up and hit the ball to the moon, basically. So that was a good one. But if I had to go with my number one video game from back in the day, probably going with Guitar Hero.
Oh, wow.
I spent a lot of hours playing Guitar Hero and loved it to the point where I started taking in-person guitar lessons.
That's awesome.
Gianni, as you know, the best guitarist that I know,
right?
Same exact thing. He started
Gianni
playing the guitar
Hendrix.
From Guitar Hero. So I would say that's probably my number one game.
I had the Aerosmith version. I had a few.
Oh, I had a couple versions.
Yeah.
They had DJ Hero too, which that was sick. You could
fire.
scratch and everything. Phenomenal. Versace, what are you going with?
Well, before I tell mine, I kind of was laughing to myself earlier when Shlomo said he used to wake up early to play his PS2 because of his brothers. And you mentioned Gianni, and I just kind of had a flashback to like growing up and all the drama you would have with your siblings over the video games.
Oh yeah.
And like whose turn it was to play, and then of course if like you guys played each other, the fights, the actual fist fights that would ensue.
What button did you press to do that?
Did you ever overwrite someone's game by accident?
Oh,
Yep.
Me and Joe Schmo had a kind of a war where I would purposely delete his like my players and like corrupt his data on purpose and shit like that. Delete profiles, put passwords on shit. It got pretty bad for the 360. But my favorite throwback video game is for the 360, also for the PS2. It is SmackDown vs. Raw 2007.
Yeah.
Great game.
Probably the best wrestling game of all time.
Of all time, yeah.
I'm gonna second
close
that.
second is No Mercy for the Nintendo 64. Close second is the Nintendo 64 game Super Mario 64.
That's a great one.
Absolute, just like nostalgia, classic video game.
You want to hear a tragic story?
Yes.
Sure.
I used to play this game called Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six 2.
Oh, I hated that series.
I didn't like it, but this game was insane. It was so much fun. And I had a wired controller, and I think you know where this story's going. I was playing one day in my living room, doing my
a
thing.
wired controller?
Wired.
Oh,
Wired.
I thought the controller was wearing a wire.
No, I was just right. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my thing. I'm
Yeah.
chilling. My sister had a friend over, and she just happened to be fucking walking by and tripped on the cord and knocked my Xbox over, and I got the red ring of death.
Oh, yo, I would literally.
Yeah,
I would have raged. I would have raged. I will say though, I'm looking at just some all-time PlayStation 2 games. Another one that I'm going to toss into the mix for potentially the greatest video game of all time.
What is it?
Not just the greatest throwback, but of all time. NBA Street Volume 2.
Oh, facts.
Hell
Amazing game. Amazing album. They had amazing music in that video game.
Hell yeah.
And
That makes
even
me want to
then-
revisit it, actually.
But now that I'm thinking about it, I might have to swallow my words because the specific version for the GameCube was even better. Because in the GameCube version, you could actually have Mario, Luigi, and the Mario players
balling up
in NBA Street Volume 2. So
Wow.
That's actually funny. I remember that, and I remember I had the PS2, and Quinn had the GameCube.
Yep.
And I remember I got the game, and I'm like, oh, where's Mario or where's Luigi? Because I wanted to be him.
Same here.
And I couldn't fucking
my
play
cousin,
him.
literally the same exact thing, but it was me and my cousin. He had the GameCube. I was like, wow.
I got a question for y'all.
What's that?
What is the greatest GTA of all time?
I'm gonna go with Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, my heart wants to say San Andreas. I just think, like, given the graphics, given the amazing time that I've been having over the 10 years that GTA 5 has been out. I mean, it's unmatched.
Has it been 10 years?
It's been some. I'll look up and make
some
sure,
time.
but I'm pretty sure that GTA 5 has been out for 10 years right now. Oh, not 10. A little over 7.
Getting there.
Yeah, better part of a decade. So I go with
What do you
that.
think?
It's a toss-up between, for me personally, just Vice City and San Andreas. Vice City, I just remember that map so vividly and loving the cars, and just like it definitely is loosely based off Scarface, and I remember really liking that movie growing up. And I remember my first ever heartbreak or experience of dealing with betrayal was when Lance turns on you, and I'll never forget that moment. Some very hard missions. Also, GTA 3 too was pretty cool. It was kind of like a mobster type storyline, and like I just remember being a kid and really just like, whoa, like, this feels like real life, bro. Like,
Yeah.
And I know you just said based on Scarface. Did you guys ever play the Scarface video game for the PlayStation 2?
I liked
No.
it.
Amazing game.
Yeah?
Is it?
Amazing game.
I liked it.
Gianni was the biggest Tony Montana guy growing up.
still is.
Still is, but for anyone out there who knows what I'm talking about, that game is amazing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, buy your ass a PlayStation 2, buy the Scarface video game, get really high, and have the time of your life.
Yeah, what I remember about that game is basically kind of just when you got really mad, it'd be rage mode.
Yeah, you go to like roid rage and would just shoot everything. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh my god. For me, it would be GTA 4.
That's a good one.
Nico Bellic.
Nico Bellic.
Liberty City is
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it, right?
I used to love that game.
That's a
Super
good one.
gritty, absolute just mayhem.
Gotta love it.
I know you definitely be getting coffee a lot,
Yeah.
if you know what that means.
You know the vibes.
You know the deal. But then, hey, if you're listening to this right now and you have some thoughts you want to share with us, feel free. Tag us in the comments. What are your favorite video games? What's your favorite video game console? What's your video game path? And what's the greatest video game of all time? Let us know.
Honorable mention before we sign up. Tetris. Shout out Tetris.
Oh, boo. You can't do that.
Tetris.
Fuck Tetris.
Yikes. Well, anyway, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Go enjoy the Xbox. What is it called? I always
Series
forget
X.
The name. The
Series X. And the PlayStation 5 if you're in the
PS5.
1%.
We'll see. I'm still in the toss-up which one I'm going to get. So if you guys already have it, let me know what you think.
Exactly. Let us know.
All right. Have a wonderful day for y'all.
Peace.
This is Antonio Acquelli.
This is the one and only JQ from the Hills Turn podcast.
This is Jimmy from the Q,
And you're listening to Mass Music Radio.
and you're listening to Mass Music Radio.
Mass Music Radio.